Okay, so good afternoon. Thank you very much for the introduction. So we're going to discuss a new liquid phase isomerization process for paraxylene production that has been introduced a couple of years ago. In case you wonder what that logo or thingy here is, I still wonder that myself. So it's a new Exxon Mobil thing, just to let you know. Okay, so Exxon Mobil is a very large paraxylene producer. In fact, we used to be the largest paraxylene producer in the world 4 to 5 years ago, until we were surpassed first by Reliance, and then by Refinery Petrochemicals, and then by JXTG, and then by a couple of others. So right now we're probably number 5 or number 6 in the world. But we produce a lot of aromatics, and in addition to producing aromatics, we also develop our own technologies, which we use in our own facilities and which we also license. So if these are single units that we provide to the user, we license under Exxon Mobil license. If these are technologies we provide as part of a grassroots aromatics complex, 1 or 2 or 3 units in a kit for a grassroots aromatic complex, we license under our Paramax Alliance partner Accents. So, as I said, we're going to talk about a new liquid phase xylene isomerization process, which has been introduced first in an Exxon Mobil plant and then supplied to third parties starting 2015. And as we will see, there are 2 main drivers for using this process. The first being energy savings, and the second one being debottlenecking of existing xylene loop facilities. And towards the very end, we will see that there are also some applications where the xylene loop can operate entirely in the liquid phase. To start with, for those of you who are not familiar with aromatics complexes, just a reminder of what happens in a xylene loop. We typically come in the xylene loop with a heavy reformate stream. That would be C8 aromatics and C9 plus aromatics. Then we go into a xylene splitter where the C8 aromatics go overhead and the C9 plus aromatics go bottoms. Then we go to a separation unit, which is typically a crystallization or an adsorption unit. PX is recovered, and then we have a PX depleted stream exiting the separation unit. From there, we go to a vapor phase isomerization, where 2 reactions occur. One is the conversion of ethyl benzene, and the second one is the isomerization of PX depleted xylenes. And then from there, we go back to the xylene splitter. So 2 major comments at the bottom of the slide. The first is this PX that is recovered in the separation unit represents anywhere from 20 to 24% of that stream. So this operation is by and large driven by recycle. There is a very large amount of recycle, and the fresh feed coming in represents really the small portion of this stream. And the second part, of course, is because there is such a high recycle, the efficiency of this xylene loop is key to the economics of the aromatics complex. Okay, so as I just mentioned, and focusing now on vapor phase isomerization, 2 reactions take place in the vapor phase isomerization unit, one being ethyl benzene removal and the second one being xylene isomerization. There are actually 2 options for ethyl benzene conversion. One is ethyl benzene conversion to benzene, and the other one is ethyl benzene conversion to xylenes. And then, of course, xylene isomerization. So 2 types of technologies available for vapor phase isomerization process will combine either the top box here, xylene isomerization, or the bottom box here, xylene isomerization. Intuitively, one might think that most operators would choose the bottom option because the xylene loop operates to make xylenes. In reality, most operators actually choose the top option, even though benzene is not a desired product. The reason for this choice is this arrow right here. Ethyl benzene in the xylene loop is a diluent, meaning The more we can remove per pass, the better. Otherwise, more ethylbenzene in the loop means less xylenes, means less paraxylene, and therefore means less efficiency for the paraxylene recovery unit. So what operators want really to do is to eliminate or to remove as much ethylbenzene per pass as possible. Because of this arrow here, this reaction is irreversible, meaning it's kinetically controlled, and so therefore we can operate at 60, 70, 80, even 90% ethylbenzene conversion per pass. Whereas this reaction is thermodynamically controlled, meaning maximum conversion per pass is about 30 to 32%, and therefore a very large recycle and presence of ethylbenzene throughout the xylene loop. Now, back to our xylene loop and just following the route of the C8 aromatics. We start with C8 aromatics coming in the liquid phase, and they are turned into gas phase by going overhead in the xylene splitter. Then they enter the separation unit, and separation, either crystallization or adsorption, occurs in the liquid phase, so they have to be condensed. And then they get out of the separation unit to go to the vapor phase isomerization unit, where they have to be vaporized again. And finally, they come out of vapor phase isomerization into a deheptanizer, where they go bottoms, meaning they go back to the liquid phase. Altogether, that's 4 phase changes for a huge recycle, so this is a very energy-intensive and inefficient process. And so, recently, Exxon Mobil has introduced a new liquid phase isomerization process as such, which basically allows to divert a portion of that stream coming out of the separation unit to a liquid phase isomerization unit, where isomerization takes place same as in the vapor phase, and as a result of that, we can direct the effluent to the xylene splitter, meaning we're skipping 2 phase changes. And in fact, if we operate at such conditions that the feed specifications to the separation unit can be met, then it's not 2, but actually 4 phase changes that we skip. We can actually circulate these xylenes around the separation unit and feed directly into the separation unit. So very large energy savings at stake. Why consider this liquid phase isomerization? So it's a simple liquid phase isomerization process. It's an axial downflow reactor. It uses a low-cost catalyst because we do not need precious metal in the catalyst. The vessel is inexpensive since it operates at very low temperature. The best way to think about this is to think about the clay treater. In fact, most of the units we have in operation are retrofitted clay treaters. It has a very limited hardware requirement. All we need in addition to the vessel is a heat exchanger, a feed heater, and a pump. There is no fire heater, no condenser, no hydrogen recycle. In fact, there is no hydrogen at all. Again, it's a low temperature operation. It gives you the same paraxylene selectivity as a vapor phase isomerization. It has very, very low xylene loss per pass since it's such a low temperature operation. And it offers long cycles. The only drawback is it does not convert ethylbenzene, or very little. What that means is, back to the previous slide, we have in most places to operate it in parallel with a vapor phase isomerization in order to control the amount of ethylbenzene that circulates in the xylene loop. So let me show some examples of deployments. The first one being a unit in Europe, and in this case, liquid phase isomerization has been added in series with a vapor phase isomerization. So we come in here with C8 heavy reformates, and C8 aromatics go overhead, go to a PX adsorption unit. In the PX adsorption unit, we remove PX. Then we go to a vapor phase isomerization unit where xylenes are isomerized, and then they make their way back to a second xylene splitter, where overhead, again, we go to a crystallizer where we recover more PX. And so at the outlet of this crystallizer, prior to addition of a RPI unit, we had a very pX depleted stream, which would in turn deplete the total stream or reduce the concentration of the total stream that was going to the pX adsorption unit. So we added this liquid phase isomerization unit, and at the outlet of the RPI unit, now we're back to equilibrium paraxylene, which is about 24%. As a result of the addition of this RPI process, we have achieved versus base case 9% energy savings and 4% in feed consumption. 9% reduction at this particular site in Europe, that's about 13 megawatts, that's $6.5 million per year, every year, for a very, very small investment. The second place where we have introduced this liquid phase isomerization process was a unit in Asia. So this is a more typical configuration where the RPI process runs in parallel with the vapor phase isomerization process. And so what we do in such cases is typically we work with our clients. There is no such a thing as a one-size-fits-all solution. We work with our clients to determine the split between the part of the separation effluent that goes to RPI versus the part of the separation effluent that goes to the VPI. And what governs this is, of course, the more of the stream goes to the RPI unit, the more energy savings. But on the other hand, the more that goes to the RPI, the less ethylbenzene conversion. So we have to find a happy medium between energy savings and maintenance of low ethylbenzene throughout our Exxon loop. This particular instance, this is a plant in the Far East. We actually achieved 10% energy savings in the Exxon loop versus base case, and 2% feed consumption at constant paraxylene production. Again, this 10% in this plant, which is about a 500 KTA plant, represents about 15 megawatts. So that's very significant. Here is a third case of RPI implementation. So this was a third party. Again, it's a classic RPI operating in parallel with vapor phase isomerization. But in this case, the driver was not energy savings. We were helping a client which was running into trouble with their overall vapor phase isomerization section. And without going into details, the consequence of the trouble was that they were coming out of vapor phase isomerization with much, much lower pX concentration than you would normally expect. And so by adding this RPI unit and by diverting portion of the stream through the RPI process, we increased the concentration in paraxylene to the pX recovery unit, and we, of course, improved the overall pX production. So the total pX recovery improvement versus base case was more than 20%, which again significantly impacted the overall paraxylene production by that site. So this particular presentation could have been tomorrow as part of the technology innovation session or part of the new catalyst session. But since we're today with integration of refining and petrochemicals, let's talk a little bit about what happens in grassroots plants. In grassroots plants, as you may imagine, with our partner Accents, we can actually, when we design from a blank sheet of paper, we can combine vapor phase isomerization together with liquid phase isomerization and the Accents Eluxol recovery technology, and take advantage of some specific heat integration schemes. The other thing we can do also is obviously manage low EB streams in our RPI unit and high EB stream in our VPI units. The other thing, thinking about crude to chemical processes and plants, is, as you certainly know, crude to chemicals facilities produce very large pools of toluene. One particularity about toluene conversion process or processes to xylenes is that they produce xylenes with a very low ethylbenzene content, typically less than 1%. And that's to be compared with reformate xylenes, which can contain anywhere from 12 to 15% ethylbenzene. And so what you can do if you use either toluene methylation or toluene disproportionation or transalkylation as a means to produce xylenes, what we actually can offer is a xylene loop that operates entirely in the liquid phase because, again, the ethylbenzene content is such level that it can be managed with a liquid phase loop only. And in places where EB tends to accumulate over time, we can actually manage EB accumulation by using a small EB purge. So, in summary, I hope I have convinced you that we have a new liquid phase isomerization that is worth evaluating in aromatics facilities. We have a large patent portfolio, including catalyst compositions, operating conditions, and process flow schemes. We have 3 commercial references. We have also designed 2 all-liquid xylene loops, and we have a number of other projects that we are looking into, both for grassroots and retrofits, including, by the way, our own plants. And then, when it comes to existing facilities, this process is worthwhile considering, especially in a market where we know a lot of PX is going to come on stream, and operators will have to reduce their costs in order to stay in this market. It's very worthwhile considering both for energy savings and also for capacity enhancement at low cost. That's all. Thank you very much.